When we look at the new updates to regulation, we frequently see the term web content. But what exactly does web content mean? On the screen with me is a post from accessible.org where I go over just that. The title is What is Web Content under Title II of the ADA? And so in the second paragraph, I have an excerpt from the official web accessibility rule under Title II, and it reads In this rule, the department establishes technical standards for web content and mobile app accessibility to give public entities greater clarity. And it continues, but what exactly is web content? So, scrolling down, we have a quote from the fact sheet for the new Title II rule. And here's how it defines web content. It reads, web content is defined as the information and experiences available on the web, like text, images, sound, videos, and documents. You can find more information about how the department defines web content in the rule in the official rule. All right, so web content that's a somewhat vague definition because notice that the word website is not included on that in that. So why wouldn't we just include the word website for clarity and practical reading, right? So that people can make sense of this. So when we actually look to the Federal Register, we have this excerpt. The department, oh no, I'm going to scroll down and we have section 35.104 definitions. Web content means the information and sensory experience to be communicated to the user by means of a user agent, including code or markup that defines the content structure, presentation, and interactions. Examples of web content include text, images, sounds, controls, animations, and conventional electronic documents. Why can't they just say this in plain language? I understand the need for technical accuracy, but the fact sheet would have been the place to include the common sense term that everybody's familiar with, websites. So they won't just say websites outright. And as I was reading this definition, I thought to myself, this reads like it's from the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines documentation. And that is actually what happened. So here, the Department of Justice actually just took the definition from the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. And so, what does again, getting back to the point of this video, what does web content actually means? Well, for some reason, the DOJ wouldn't just come out right and say it, but web content is really any content that can be accessed by a web browser. So some specific examples include websites, social media portals, web platforms, web applications. So think of Gmail or other email clients. Think of TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Everything that you're accessing through a web browser is going to be considered web content, and so that's going to fall under these new rules that are there to update existing regulation. But because they went with the W3C's definition, it's not completely clear. And I don't know why that the fact sheet just didn't outright say websites, web pages, but instead we had wording like the code and what was the wording they used? The code and the markup that defines the content structure. The fact sheet really was the place to make this clear and easier to understand, but they didn't even do that in the fact sheet. So if you're wondering what web content is, just think of everything that can be accessed through a web browser.